When a ruthless biker kicked a dog for fun, he was completely unaware that Keanu Reeves was the owner. What started as a peaceful afternoon walk would soon escalate into a dramatic confrontation, proving once again that you should never mess with a man's dog. The concrete walls of Brooklyn Heights trapped the morning heat around the bustling film set of John Wick. The air was thick with the scent of hot asphalt and the faint aroma of street food wafting from nearby vendors. Camera equipment littered the area, cables snaking across the ground like dormant serpents. "That's a wrap for this scene, folks," the director's voice cut through the cacophony of the set. "We'll take a 1-hour lunch break and meet back here for the next shoot." As the crew began to disperse, their voices filled with excited chatter about lunch plans. A group gathered near the catering truck. "Hey, Keanu," one of them called out. "We're heading to that new deli on Atlantic Avenue. Want to join us?" Keanu Reeves turned towards the voice, a friendly smile playing on his lips. However, his attention was quickly drawn to Buddy, the pit bull who had been featuring in their scenes. The dog stood panting heavily in the heat, his tongue lolling out as he sought relief from the oppressive temperature. "You guys go ahead," Keanu replied, his eyes still on Buddy. "I think I'll take care of our four-legged friend here and give him a walk. He looks like he could use it." The dog keeper, a lanky man with a clipboard tucked under his arm, stepped forward. "That's all right, Mr. Reeves. I can take care of Buddy. It's my job, after all." Keanu held up a hand, his expression earnest. "I'd like to do it if that's okay. It'll help me bond with him for our upcoming scenes." He paused, a thoughtful look crossing his face. "Plus, I've always been curious about what it's like to own a dog, even if it's just for a short while." The dog keeper hesitated, his brow furrowing slightly. Keanu quickly added, "Don't worry, we won't go far. I'll make sure he gets a snack and something to drink." After a moment's consideration, the dog keeper nodded. "All right, Mr. Reeves, just be careful. Buddy's a sweetheart, but he can be a handful sometimes." With the dog keeper's approval secured, Keanu set about preparing for their walk. The dog keeper handed him a sturdy leash, a handful of plastic bags for waste collection, and a collapsible silicone water container. Keanu carefully secured the leash to Buddy's collar, his movements gentle and deliberate. He tucked the other items into the pockets of his leather jacket, padding them to ensure they were secure. Kneeling down to Buddy's level, Keanu spoke in a warm, friendly tone. "Are you up for a walk, Buddy? Are you thirsty? Let's find a quiet place to rest." Buddy's tail wagged enthusiastically in response, his earlier signs of discomfort momentarily forgotten in the face of Keanu's attention. "I know you're thirsty," Keanu continued, noting the dog's continued panting. "Let's find you a water fountain. I'm sorry I don't have my water with me today." Standing up, Keanu turned to the remaining crew members. "See you all in an hour," he called out, giving a small wave. With that, he gently tugged on Buddy's leash, and the unlikely pair set off into the streets of Brooklyn Heights, leaving behind the controlled chaos of the film set for the unpredictable adventure that awaited them. Keanu and Buddy made their way through the sun-drenched streets of Brooklyn Heights, the midday heat reflecting off the pavement in shimmering waves. Buddy's panting had intensified, his need for water becoming more urgent with each passing minute. Keanu's eyes scanned the surroundings, searching for any sign of a public water fountain or a dog-friendly establishment. As they turned a corner, an imposing structure came into view. The sign above the door read, "Iron and Ash," its weathered letters suggesting a long-standing presence in the neighborhood. The unmistakable rumble of motorcycles filled the air, and a row of gleaming bikes stood parked across the entrance like sentinels guarding a fortress. Keanu's eyes narrowed as he took in the scene, his grip on Buddy's leash tightening instinctively. The biker bar exuded an aura of toughness and barely contained aggression, a stark contrast to the trendy cafes and boutiques that dominated most of Brooklyn Heights. Just as Keanu was considering moving on, a glint of metal caught his eye. There, nestled between two parked motorcycles, stood a public water fountain. Relief washed over him as he guided Buddy toward it. As Buddy lapped eagerly at the water, Keanu took the opportunity to observe the steady stream of patrons entering and exiting the bar. To his surprise, several of the bikers acknowledged Buddy with unexpected warmth. A burly man with tattoos snaking up his arms paused, a smile softening his weathered features. "Nice pit bull you've got there," he commented, his voice gravelly but friendly. "People often misjudge them, you know. Kind of like they do with us bikers. Loyal to a fault if you treat them right." Keanu nodded, appreciating the man's insight. "You're right about that," he replied. "There's often more than meets the eye." As they continued their conversation, a waitress emerged from the bar and took her place behind the hostess stand at the entrance. She knelt down, offering her hand for Buddy to sniff. The dog responded with a gentle lick, his tail wagging. "He's such a good boy," she said, then leaned toward Keanu, lowering her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "Kinder than half the men inside, I'd wager." Keanu smiled in response, appreciating her light-hearted demeanor. He emptied the remaining water from the bowl, folded the silicone container, and tucked it back into his pocket. "Thanks for the warm welcome," he said, giving her a friendly wave as he prepared to continue their walk. As they moved away from the bar's vicinity, Keanu's ears picked up the sound of raised voices. He turned to see the same waitress now engaged in a heated exchange with a group of 5 bikers. Her posture was defensive, but her voice was firm as she stood her ground. "I told you yesterday, your gang's not welcome here anymore," she was saying, her words carrying clearly across the parking lot. "After what happened last time, the boss was clear. You're banned." The bikers towered over her, their faces twisted with anger. One of them, a hulking man with a shaved head, took a menacing step forward. "Move aside, sweetheart," he growled, "or we'll move you ourselves." The situation was escalating quickly. Keanu hesitated, torn between the desire to help and his responsibility to keep Buddy safe. Just as he was considering intervening, a group of other bikers emerged from the bar. They quickly positioned themselves around the waitress, forming a protective barrier between her and the troublemakers. "You heard the lady," one of them said, his voice low and dangerous. "Time for you to leave." Recognizing the potential for violence and mindful of his promise to the dog keeper, Keanu decided it was time to make a strategic retreat. He quietly led Buddy away from the scene, not wanting to draw attention to themselves. As they walked, Keanu couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and unease. The confrontation at the bar had revealed an undercurrent of tension in the neighborhood, one that he hoped wouldn't impact the rest of their outing.